Right, thank you for everyone joining today's webinar. Today's webinar is ezyCollect, and we're talking with AJ from who's a co-founder of ezyCollect, based out of Sydney here in Australia. And he's going to be walking through the ezyCollect solution and how it benefits clients to get paid faster. Okay, well, I'm going to finish talking for now, and I'm going to introduce you to AJ from ezyCollect, and he's going to talk about getting paid faster.
Okay, thanks, Carl, and hello, everyone. My name's AJ, one of the co-founders and the MD of ezyCollect. So just some housekeeping first. This webinar is a demonstration of ezyCollect, and it'll take about 20 minutes. ezyCollect solves a problem, or helps tackle the problem of late payment, and helps businesses to improve cash flow. So if you're a business yourself and you are experiencing poor cash flow for a number of reasons, this will help you get on top of that problem quickly and simply. Or if you're a partner and you have clients who have the same problem, or you're looking to add value to your clients and help them run better businesses, this is a product that can be provided to your clients, and I guess will help you guys look like heroes. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to just pop it in the chat box, and we'll come to it at the end of the webinar. Just a bit of background firstly. ezyCollect, we're a team of about 22 people. We have clients in 24 countries, but our focus is Australia and New Zealand in terms of, I guess, our support and our sales. That's where we have most of our customers. We work with about 730 customers across those countries, and our focus is with businesses that raise invoices, sell on credit, and fundamentally they don't have necessarily the resources or the time to manage the chasing as effectively or as efficiently as they would like to do. So from the day they raise the invoice, or even before that, from the day they raise the sales order to the day they collect, this is where ezyCollect can kind of be overlaid to help manage that process more efficiently, whether it be helping staff to be more efficient in terms of a business to have some technology to automate the way they chase their customers, or some technology to help the payment process, like actually physically taking payment online. ezyCollect is like an end-to-end credit management add-on that connects to every version of MYOB. So from MYOB Essentials, which is for that micro business, all the way to desktop MYOB Premier, to the cloud version, which is a Car and Ride, to EXO, which is the desktop version of their sort of mid-market enterprise solution, to Advanced, which is the sort of cloud-based version of for the mid to enterprise market. So it doesn't matter where your clients are or where you are. We can plug and play, and what I mean by plug and play is it takes maybe half an hour to an hour to install ezyCollect. And once it's installed, all the data that we need to manage the credit collection process is automatically synced between the core system, which is your ERP or your accounting system, and ezyCollect automatically. There's no need for any manual action after that point. And so if you're using EXO or using a desktop product, the partner can help install ezyCollect. If you're using Advanced or a cloud-based product, the APIs is what we use to connect, and that's done in just minutes. So that's kind of the background to ezyCollect. This business, by the way, started from my own pain that I experienced in my wholesale manufacturing business about 5 years ago. I was importing, wholesaling medical healthcare consumables, and fundamentally I would sell to customers on credit. I didn't like chasing my customers because I had these relationships which were valuable to me, and I didn't want to upset customers by chasing them. And so as a result, I didn't chase them. And the problem was I had to pay my suppliers, I had to pay my employees up front, and this created this cash flow gap that's just an all too common story in a lot of businesses around the country. And so what I did was I ended up hiring more people to solve the problem. And hiring people is good, but the issue with that is A, it's expensive, and B, unless they have the systems and the processes and discipline to follow a collection strategy, they end up calling the same customers every month. They end up having the same conversations, hearing the same excuses, and nothing really changes. And so what happens is businesses see a small improvement when they hire staff, but over time it gets back to what it used to be. And often if you have more than 100 customers, no one can call all 100 customers in a month. So there's often this long tail that just doesn't get called, and that leads to bad debts, and you have to write off bad debts. And in my last company, I wrote off about 90K a year in bad debt. So there's a real cost to this problem. And then I ended up using factoring and financing solutions, which again causes more pressure on your profitability. So, when we built ezyCollect, we said it had to be quick to set up, quick to implement. It had to be quick to see results. So within 3 months, you should see a measurable improvement in your cash flow, and it had to be easy to use. And because you're already using a technology solution such as Excel or Advanced, you don't want to be learning or having your staff to learn yet another product. So it had to be really quick and simple and just be seamlessly running in the background. And that's what ezyCollect is, right? It was meant to be just an add-on, and that's why we won MYOB's fastest growing partner award last year. I guess we're making a real impact on businesses and helping businesses to run better businesses themselves. So with that in mind, let me get into the demo, and I'll kick off by showing you what ezyCollect looks like when you first log in. So this is the screen, assuming the installation's done. The data is now syncing automatically, so you can see this is an example using MYOB Essentials, and the data is always in sync with your ERP or your accounting system. So when I log in as let's say I'm an accounts receivables person, I can see at a glance where my debtors are. I can see how many customers are overdue, how many communications have been made by the system. I can see a little dashboard here of some key information: who are my oldest, who are my largest, who are the customers who are in my red zone. These are all customizable widgets that you can to have in your dashboard to see the information that you want to see. Customers who perhaps are over their credit limit and you want to start taking actions to those customers, you can see that at a glance. So the whole system, I guess, though, before I get into the actual demo, is it's based on the principle that the key to getting paid is all about consistent, persistent, polite follow-up. I don't know if you've heard the term, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. I guess that's kind of the basis of the system. It's about the fact that if you can chase up your customers as consistently, as politely, as personalized as possible, you will get to the top of the payment queue, because you'll be the one that's always on top of it. And that's what we find. And so when we built ezyCollect, it was about how do we make this squeaky wheel system, this consistent follow-up, really simple to set up, such that there's not so much burden on a business to do it themselves. So you can see we've set up the system from the very day you create the invoice to the very day that you actually get paid, right? And so when you do get paid, you can set it up such that you can automatically send your customer a thank you for payment message when they pay, and it automatically knows they're paid, because when you reconcile it in your accounting system, our system talks to your accounting or ERP system, and it automatically knows it's paid and sends a thank you. And this is all about maintaining that relationship. A few of our customers told us, when we create the new invoice, we often don't get time to send the invoice to our customer. And often that's a big reason for not getting payment. You can automate sending invoice copies. You can set up pre-reminders. So, a few days before a customer is due to be, overdue, you can send them, hey, this is going to be due in a couple of days. But really where the system comes to its own is about having different methods of follow-up, such as email, SMS, phone calls, letters by Australia Post, fax, because we know different customers respond differently to different follow-up methods. So for example, you can set up your workflow, and this is a workflow you can set up however you like. It's customized to your business. Anything that's coming from ezyCollect comes from your email. So no one knows about ezyCollect. It's as if it's your system that's sending these particular emails or phone calls or SMS messages, and when they reply, it goes back to you as well. So for example, I can click on my first follow-up. I can specify that I want it to be an email or an SMS or a fax. I can set up whatever communication method that I want to use. And when I set this up, I can actually say I want to send this, for example, 5 days after a particular customer is overdue. And you know what? I want to attach all copies of overdue invoices, because I know that if I don't do it, they'll use it as a reason to not pay me. And these are all one-time setups. And you can see we have a default template here as well. And these templates can be, customized, but you can just drag and drop whatever fields you want from your ERP into this table. One-time setup. And what we've done is we've actually given you some defaults that we know really, really work. And then if someone does pay after the first email, great, it'll stop chasing and send a thank you message. But you know what? If they don't, you can then say 5 days later or 2 days later, send an email again. Or you know what? Send an SMS message. And what's great is our system learns over time the way your customers prefer to be chased. So if we know a customer pays after emails but not after SMSs, it will start to suggest to you at a data level how to manage chasing for different workflows for different types of customers. So SMS might be a great method for a second follow-up. And then you know what? You might find that these customers are not opening their emails, they're not checking their SMSs. You now need to have this personal touch. You need to call the customer. And this is when we asked our customers what was the most useful feature, they said the calling really added value to their business. Because what happened was I was an accounts receivables clerk. I come into work in the morning. I want to have in my email, what do I have to do that day? Who are the customers that I need to call? Not the customers I want to call, the customers I need to call. Because someone already paid on the first email, it won't be in my call list. If they've paid by the SMS, it won't be in my call list. But if they still haven't paid, right, that's when I can do something different and I can call the customer. And so what happens is with the way calls work, it actually creates a task list for your AR people to call the customers that need to be called. And what our data shows us, just as a side note, is that most businesses, normally send one email, and they hope someone will pay, and they don't get time. Next month they'll send send again the first email because they're hoping they'll pay. But the first email only collects about 25% of all overdue money. The second email is another 10%. But the third follow-up, whether it be a call or an email, will collect about 50% of what's overdue. And most businesses stop at 1. And if your third follow-up is a call, it's even more effective. So the point is as well, is even if you don't use ezyCollect, have consistency and discipline in chasing. Because more than 3 reminders seems to be the key. And most people stop at 1. It's the same concept with sales. If you're chasing, for a new sale, 1 follow-up, is what most salespeople do. If the ones that are the most successful do 7 to 10 follow-ups. Just a side point. So now imagine you've hit a customer that's hit the third step. Your AR person logs into ezyCollect every morning. They've got an email saying, please make these 6 calls. And they can log in and they can see the list of the 6 calls they have to make. In this case, I have the 1 call that I have to make. So now, as an AR person, instead of spending 6 hours a day chasing customers, who I think need to be called, I'll spend maybe half an hour a day calling the people that I need to call. So if I have to call Suva Parts, I click on the customer that I need to call, and then I come into my Suva Parts screen. On the screen, I can see the customer, I can see the ABN, I can see was there a credit check done on that customer. And you know what if I'm not sure and I want to do a live credit check? I can click request a credit check right now on the bottom left-hand side, and I can get a real credit check from Veda sent to me within about 5 minutes on that customer's ABN. And that can give you assurance that, hey, this customer is still a good, credit risk. You can set a credit limit here, or if you're using Extra or Advanced, it can automatically pick up that credit limit, so you can see what the limit is and what their usage is as a percentage of their limit. So now, as an AR person, in one screen, I can see all this information. I can see the communications that have happened in the past and what step that I'm up to. So you can see I'm up to the call step, which I'll do in a few minutes. I can see in my history all the activities, all the notes, all the communication. Have they opened the email? Have they read the email? So if I click on an email, for example, I can see a 4th email was sent. I can see who it was sent to. I can see all the invoice information. I can see, if there are multiple invoices, it'll group it into the one email. I can see here all the contacts that are linked to the customer. I can create new contacts. I can see all my open invoices all in one screen. So for me, as an AR person, I can click on complete call. So now I'm actually recording my notes here. And what's great about completing the call here is I'm actually recording these particular notes as if I am the owner of the idea. So I can say here, spoke to Carl. Right? Carl. I'm using Carl's computer, so it's a bit slower typing. Said he would pay lying as usual. Okay? So that's Carl. and that's my notes, and I hit save, and I'm the AI person. That's my private notes. My manager can see that. Anyone in the company who I give access to can actually see that, and then it will even pop up and say, let's send a confirmation email to Carl now to say, Carl, as per our conversation, I look forward to your payment tomorrow, and I click send, and it will send that email here, and both those things, my call note, and in a minute my email that I sent, will be saved in my task list, and it'll be that it was, whoever kind of was the user at the time. Their details will be sort of, recorded, so you know who's actually made the call, and it's really, really powerful. And this goes all the way to demand letter, and because what happens is at some stage, you might keep doing the same things, but you're not getting paid, right? And at some point, you might want to say, you know what, I need to go to a lawyer. I need to send a demand letter. This customer's at risk. And then what you can do at that point is you can hit send demand letter, and you can either send a demand letter to your lawyer who you're already using, and they will send it for you. Or if you don't know who to use, or you don't have time to find someone, you can click send demand letter, and we have a panel of lawyers who we have vetted, and these guys for $49 can send a demand letter to your customer the same day, because we sent to this lawyer all the history, all the communication, all the invoice copies, everything that they need to do their job better and faster. And then they can send the demand letter the same day. And that is very, very effective, especially when you first start using ezyCollect. You can go through all your really old customers and say, you know what, let's send them to a lawyer, and it's on or you can go to a debt collector, and that's on a no-win, no-fee basis. So, again, you can use your own debt collector if you have one that you like and trust. We can hook it up to the system. Just takes 2 or 3 minutes, or you can use our debt collection panel. If you want to see what's different for your business, and yes, you can create different workflows and streams for different groups of customers. So if in your ERP you've set up customer grouping, you can have different workflows for different customer groups, like VIP customers versus standard customers as well. Now, one thing that was really fascinating for us is when we and this is something that I think will really help you as a business, is when we started sending reminder emails to our customers through the system. What we found was that if you can add a Pay Now button, let me just bring up a sample one here. Give me 1 second. Sorry, Carl. How do I flick tabs here? Okay, here you go. So if I want to add a Pay Now button to my email reminders, because what we found was we were sending these great reminders to customers that were paying, but we see, what would make it even more effective for your customers to pay? Not just about the frequency of the follow-ups, like the emails and the SMSs and whatnot, and the calls, but let's also make it easier, because what we saw was customers were paying between 5 p.m. and 10 a.m., right? But if your office is closed and they want to call you to make a payment, or they want to pay by credit card, because businesses want to pay by credit card more and more, and if you're not able to accept credit card or have a facility to accept online payments 24/7, you're walking away from cash flow, and you're walking away from about 30% of cash flow. That's what the data shows us. So what we did was we added a very simple way for you to add a Pay Now button in all your reminders, in your EXO Advanced, Essentials, wherever you're using, in your invoices, in your statements, in your on your phone. So if you are a rep on the road and you're seeing a customer, you can add the Pay Now button as an app. It's just as a way to help you process payments. And if I click the Pay Now button, I go to a connected, integrated system. What I mean by that is, if I click Pay Now from that particular screen and assume I'm Auckland Car Services, right? I'm the company. I'm the debtor, and I want to pay you, the supplier, who's the Panda company. I can click Pay Now. It can be at 9 o'clock at night. I put the kids to bed, right? And I can see a live view into your system of all the overdue invoices, due invoices, and current invoices in your system. I can see days overdue, the date of the invoice. I can scroll down and see my transaction history to see what I've already paid, in the past. I can see in real time information about what I owe you. So for example, let's say I want to go pay an invoice. I simply select that invoice that I want to pay. I can click the invoice if I want to see, what am I paying for? I'm paying for a table, and I'm paying for 4 chairs. You know what? I didn't actually get those 4 chairs, right? Let me go chat with you real time and say, hey, I didn't get those chairs, and I can send a message to you, which also gets recorded in your communication in your communication history notes that were in your ezyCollect system. So it's this two-way communication portal. You know what if I don't have an invoice that I can see there and I want to make a one-off payment? What if it's a sales order and I want to take a deposit or pay a deposit on a sales order and I can't see the particular invoice? I can make a one-off payment on whatever I like, right? But the great thing is it's giving your customers the facility to pay you on their terms. They can make a partial payment. You know what? I only want to pay you $1,000 off that $2,000. Pay now. And when I click Pay Now, your customer has the ability to then put in their card number, right? And you have the ability as the business to say, you know what? I don't want to pay credit card fees. I want to surcharge those fees to my customer at the time that they're making that payment. And what's great about that, it then costs you nothing. It's absolutely zero cost to have this facility. But your customer can make the decision, do they want to pay by credit card or not? And if they do want to pay by credit card, often, especially, we see a lot of Amex transactions because they can pay 2% Amex fees, but they get the points, so they love to pay it. And we're seeing, average Amex transactions, business to business, are like $40,000 to $50,000 per transaction. Visa is about $10,000 to $15,000. But you'd be surprised the number of businesses that are paying by credit card. And if you're not doing this, forget ezyCollect, you're missing out on cash flow as well. And the fact that these payments at the moment, what happens is when a customer pays, they can put in their card number, their security code, and hit pay. And then what happens is at the end of every day, a report is emailed to you as a business of all the payments that have happened, so you can reconcile very, very easily, because you'll have the business name, invoice numbers, payment amount, and very easy to reconcile. What we're working on at the moment is an automatic reconciliation back into EXO, back into Advanced. We've built some of these integrations already, but this will be done probably in the next quarter. But what you're finding though is because you get this report, you can either upload it by CSV into your system and match it, or if using bank feeds, you can match it that way too. But you will have a report for you that will be emailed to your staff every single day to say, here are your online payments that have happened through the system. So it's not an automatic process yet, but it's solving, I think, 80% of the problem so far. So the payments is a really interesting thing of the system. I thought it's just worth bringing to your attention that it does close the loop to some extent. And with the payments as well, just as a side point, we are working with companies like Afterpay and Zip Money to introduce a pay later option. So giving your debtors a sort of way to pay. You'll get the money straight away, but then they can pay over 3 installments. So it's almost like you're helping your business, your debtors finance it. So instead of paying, instead of giving your customer an early payment discount, you're saying, you know what, pay me over 3 installments. You get the money for sure, and you're also giving them one more option to actually pay you, and that'll be launched next quarter as well. Just one of the other things I want to bring to your attention, which we think is one of the most useful pieces of this system, is about dealing with customers in bulk. When you first sign up to ezyCollect, what typically happens is you have a lot of customers that might have already slipped through the net. There might be old customers that you feel like you need to get on top of. What a lot of our customers do is they come to this bulk customer page. It's a bad example when you have 6 customers here, but let's say you have 600 customers. You can filter your customers based on whatever criteria you want. So you can say, show me all customers who are more than, say 400 days past due, right? No, that's a bad example. Let's say more than 60 days past due. Doing it wrong. More than 60 days past due, and owe me more than $5,000. These are your really at-risk customers, who are very old, who owe you lots of money, right? And you can apply that filter, and when you apply that filter, it'll show you all those customers who meet that particular criteria. You can then select those customers at bulk, so it could be 6 customers, it could be 600 customers, and then you can take these bulk actions, right? You can edit their credit limits at bulk, you can send them a statement, but very, very useful is you can actually send an email to those customers as well, right? And this is a bulk email that's going to be personalized to each individual customer based on their own circumstances. But you would sort of do it once, right? And you would say, you could say, hey, customer, this is your final warning before we take you into legal, da 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 da, and you can hit send, and it'll send that customer to all 600. It'll send this email to all 600 customers in less than 60 seconds. It's tracked through your system, right? And it's a great way for you to do things like sending them to legal, to debt collection, send an SMS. A lot of our businesses is a sales tool. So coming the end of the month, you might want to have a special on certain products. You can say to all my good customers, send them this, offer. And it just takes a few seconds. And what you find, having the Pay Now button there as well in these emails, you get payment in the door from customers that you think you would have had to write off because you're offering credit card, because you're emailing them in bulk. And the fact that the email sent gives you a red receipt, it does. So when you send these emails, you know that they've opened the email. So on your dashboard, you'll have a little symbol that says, yep, they've actually read and opened the email. So you know then that they've actually opened it. So they're just ignoring you if they haven't paid you. Then you can go to the next step, calling legal, debt collection. Really, really, really useful feature for a lot of our customers when you're looking at going to that next step. And the reporting around this as well is you can say, for example, if you sit with your manager every week and you go through your aged debtors, you can export a detailed customer report every week that for every debtor, it would show what stage they're up to, balance owing, overdue, credit limit, days overdue, what was the last communication history, what's the next communication history, what's any notes that you recorded, and that's one of the most useful reports that you'll have, because it'll be able to be used in your daily meetings, but it's a real-time report. Okay. So I've spoken a lot about very high-level features of the system. You can do things like, I'll just show you one more thing that I think you might like, just very, very quickly, is around the dispute management side of things. So what happens is, let's say you've called Auckland Car Services, and Auckland Car Services said to you, look, I promised to pay you in 2 weeks' time. Can you please not chase me for that period of time? It's a pretty common conversation. So when you have that call task, you can say, let me pause this customer because they promised to pay me. And the pause is basically an acknowledgement that I'm going to pause a customer because they've, say, promised to pay me. I don't know, sorry, I printed that. Promise to pay, okay? And when I do that promise to pay, you can put a date. So I said, it's for, let's say till the 5th or the 6th. That's your promise to pay. And now what typically happens if you're not using a system like ezyCollect is, come the 6th of April, you're too busy calling new customers for that month. You don't have time to see, has Auckland actually paid you. But with this system, you can see it's been paused for 2 weeks. On the 6th of April, it'll actually alert you to check, has the customer paid? And if they have paid, it'll obviously not chase them and it won't alert you. But if they still haven't paid you and they're still an amount overdue, it will send an email to you and it will alert you and say, you know what, this customer hasn't paid. What do you want to do? And at that point, you can send another email, you can call the customer again, you can extend the pause, but it's about giving you the tools to be proactive and not reactive. You don't have to be worried about calling the customer or putting a note in your diary. The system will remind you and your staff who to call, when to call. And the great thing is you can set up payment plans as well. So you can set up direct debit payment plans through our payment system. So not just a Pay Now button, but you can say, I want to automatically direct debit from bank account $500 every month from this BSB and account number for the next 6 weeks. And you can set up a direct debit payment system through our admin panel as well. So you don't have to just do a credit card payment. But that's getting into more sort of detailed dispute management. So I've kind of gone, I think, fairly high level, but I think that gives you a sense of how the system works, and the actual results have been there. So we have customers who within about 6 to 12 months see roughly a 50 to 60% reduction in overdue debtors, and that means in terms of cash flow, hundreds of thousands of dollars over a year in free cash flow. In terms of staff productivity and the cost saving, businesses typically save about 1,200 hours a year in terms of resources on a full-time AR resource. So that person can be used to do other things in the business, more higher value adding activities. So there's a real benefit. And one thing I just mentioned is if you for yourself, for your own business or for your customers want to use ezyCollect, Carl said to put in a little sort of offer at the end of this. It might be something useful just to help you have a conversation with your customers, or if you're a customer yourself. Because we believe in the system, we know you'll get results. We're happy to give you the system, 50% off for the first 6 months of our pricing on the website. So 6 months off for the first 6 months, and then after that it goes back to the full price, and give you a 30-day trial as well. So once you connect the system, 30 days to see if the system works for you. And if you don't love it in the first 30 days, you don't have to keep using it, but then it's a month-to-month thing. But for the first 6 months, 50% off, as long as you sign up by the end of April. But again, it's even if you don't use ezyCollect, because I don't want us to be very salesy, even if you don't use ezyCollect, some of the principles I think you can take away are the consistent, personalized, frequent communication, and adding a Pay Now button to your communications. It really does help cash flow.
Yeah, thank you, AJ. And just take out some key points from AJ's presentation. You can see really the solution that ezyCollect have got is giving you that massive productivity gain that the ERP would not give you. I mean, the ERP is a very good transactional system, giving you the rich data, the reporting. But on top of that, the actual activity to get paid does need a specialized tool on top of that to manage that process. And we do spend a lot of time having these tools to actually make the sale, but then we forget about following up the sale with actually getting the payment. And it's interesting, you can see that the ezyCollect solution is offering a lot of artificial intelligence. It's understanding client behavior. It's then adapting the system to follow that client behavior. The conversations that you might have with somebody who is chasing money differ immediately. It's not a case of what have you done, how many calls have you made, who have you called. You now know what needs to be done and what has actually happened to actually reduce that outstanding. And having all of that history in the system and activity is a great way of proving, if you do need to go legal, that hey, we've done the best that we can to collect this money. We've not received any issues back about bad service, bad products, non-delivery, all of that communication. If the client is not fulfilling in paying you, if they've not had those conversations with you, it becomes a very easy process for the lawyers when they get involved. And that surcharge, I didn't know you did that. That's a great one. We get that from a number of clients, that how do we handle surcharges in MYOB Advanced. And if you've spoken to me in the past around this, you would have known some of the clunky workarounds I've been giving you. So having that, and finally the removing that barrier to payment, yeah. you get the situation where the client actually wants to make the payment, but it just becomes too difficult. I've got to log into my banking. As you said, you put the kids to sleep, one of them wakes up, somebody rings you, and you just forget, and you've just lost that opportunity. So having that.
And just on the point, Carl, with the surcharge, you can choose to say I'll surcharge Amex, but I won't surcharge Visa, MasterCard, or even do partial surcharges. Say I'll do 1% on Amex, just because you want to recover some cost,
yes,
but not surcharge the other ones. And then the other important point about that is the settlement. So let's say a customer's paying you $100. You want to get $100 into your bank account, because what that means is that $100 is easy for you to reconcile, but at the end of the month, you can pay the bank fees. So we can set it up such that if someone pays you $100, you don't get $99.50, you get $100, and at the end of the month, you pay all your fees in one GL adjustment. Okay. So it's a lot better from a day-to-day transactional point of view, yes, as well, yes, and for your bank fees as well.
Yes, yes. All right, well, thank you, AJ. It's always good seeing this solution in action. I never get bored of this, especially when you get paid quicker.
And at the end of the day, if you want to see a demo, you have more questions, or you want some more case studies or proof points, hop onto the website. All our pricing is transparent. It's all on there. We've got case studies across Australian and New Zealand customers, so you can actually see the benefits. And if you want to use, for example, just the payment system, and you don't want to use ezyCollect, you can use payments by itself as well. It's a point to make, that you might say, hey, you know what, I need a payment system for my customer. For Advanced, we have APIs for that as well, or for ExoNet. that's fine too. Whatever you need, we can kind of break apart the system and give you the bits that you need.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Okay, well, if there's no more questions, I'd like to thank everybody for their time today.